welcome back to my channel where I am taking you along on my journey from pantser to planner and finding the best ways to plan a novel when you've never done it before. And deep in the middle of NaNoWriMo now, and if you're like me, you've hit the dip. If you feel like your book sucks and why did you start writing this thing in the first place, then you are in the right place. Before you quit, let's check in and make sure that that's really what you want to do. First thing I want to say is if you actually do want to quit, that is fine. You do not have to finish. All right? See this? See my shirt? Stop shitting on yourself. Don't should on yourself. And I mean should. I'm not saying that other word. I'm saying should. S-H-O-U-L-D. Should. Don't should on yourself. So I started NaNoWriMo, therefore I should finish. No, we're not doing that. However, if you want to finish, but you've just gotten a little bit stuck, here are some ways to check in and make sure that that's what's happening. So, number one, writing's hard. There's a reason why there are billions and billions of people out there who say they want to write a book and never do. There's a reason why so many people start novels and never finish them. Because it's hard. It is freaking hard to do it. And this is why it's so hard. Now, there is a book by Seth Godin called The Dip. And this book outlines when you should quit and when you shouldn't, and I highly recommend it. Whether you're a planner and you've gone off the track and you're not following your plan anymore, or you're a pantser and you've dug down the rabbit hole and the story has gotten away from you, or maybe you just don't like the scene you're in. For me, I am at the end of the beginning hook, as Sean Coyne says in Story Grid, and I'm at the point where I need to go from negative to positive, and from positive to double positive, and hit my inciting incident for my middle build. And I've recently discovered that I don't like writing scenes that go from positive to double positive. I don't like writing them. I like to throw big bad things at my characters and make them deal with it. And that is not what this scene needs to do. This scene that I'm writing needs to make everybody feel good, because if you all constantly throwing scary surprises at your reader, they'll go, they need to be able to breathe. They need to, oh, okay, everything's fine. Everything's fine. They need those moments. But I don't want to fall into the trope of, oh, these two people are kissing, therefore one of them's going to die soon. Like it does in every other movie that I find so boring. So my advice is to, and the advice I'm giving myself here, I want to write this scene and I want to subvert those expectations, but without a shock, without a new, because I need it to go, that's what I need it to do. Otherwise, my reader's going to get exhausted and they will put the book down because it's just too hard. So I need a nice relaxing scene that moves the plot along, but doesn't just sit there as a sort of warning light that these people are going to get in trouble because it's going to be negative down the track, because that's boring. And that's what I'm writing right now. And so that's a challenge, and as long as I'm writing a challenge, it can't really be boring. It's hard, but not boring. So I'm no longer bored. But if you're still bored, if you're still bored with your scene or this part of the book, then skip it. Just put a pin in it and go to the next thing that's interesting. Just go, okay, insert scene here that does X, Y, Z, and go to the next bit. And you can fill that in on second draft. Just keep going. And don't worry about word count. Don't worry about any of that. I reckon if you're writing every day, even if you're only writing 10 words, you are rocking it. And you just do this, put your hand up and go, yeah, because you're doing it. And that's good. So last week we talked about using the hierarchy of needs to map out your book. So you flip it on positive and negative and stuff. And I reckon that writing a novel is like the hero's journey or the 3-act 4-act story structure. Hero's journey starts with a sort of status quo. You're walking along. Imagine you're writing a story. You're walking along and you've got maybe some mild, easy things that come into your path, but easy to get around. Your characters, they have easy things going in their paths, easy to get around, and your story progresses that way. But then things get a little bit harder as you're walking along, as your characters are navigating this story, as you are writing this story. There's something else in your path, something that isn't as easy to get around. But your characters and you navigate that as well, and you feel a little bit like a superhero, and life is really good. It's really sunny. Uh-oh, there is a great big hole. I'm not talking about plot hole. I'm talking about the dark night of the soul. I'm talking about the abyss, the long dark night of the soul. It has many, many names. The crucial moment before the aha moment. And that, I believe, is where you are. That's the dip. That's where you are. You're lost in that horrible, horrible dark night of the soul. So in the sense of plot, it's down here in like the 3rd-act story structure, down here at sort of the second end turning point, right here, this really low point. You see that? It's there. It's that nightmare place. And that's where you are as a writer. You're down here in this dark, dark spot, and it's like being in that dark night of the soul, like being in that hole, that abyss, that all is lost moment. And it is just sad and scary and horrible. But from writing your stories, and from the hero's journey, that is the worst it gets. The abyss, your death scene. There is rebirth. If you keep going, there is rebirth. You're down here at the bottom of the hero's journey in the abyss. But if you do punishment and the atonement and you head up to the return, that is all you need to do. You can come out of that hole. You can come out of that pit, and you can succeed as a writer. So writing your book is like going along the hero's journey with your characters. It is totally doable. You can do this. You can hit a part of the story that is just a dip. It is like Seth Godin's book, The Dip. And it just is draining. You are in the long dark night of the soul, the abyss, the all is lost moment, all whatever you want to call it. You're there. I mean, we're right there. This makes sense. We are in the just past the middle turning point of this month, and it makes sense that about now you would hit that dip because it's exhausting and it's hard work and it is frustrating, and nobody else is reading it, nobody's giving you any feedback, and you think maybe it does suck. Finish it. First draft always sucks. Just accept it and move forward and finish it. And you can always fix it in the next draft. Or you can put it in a drawer and just move on to the next book. That's okay too. It is fine. Just sit down and write. You're a writer. Write. Don't give up. No, like in the dip, like in the hero's journey, the hero, you are the hero of this story because you're the writer. If you push through that dark night of the soul, you will rise again and hit the climax, and it'll be hard, but you will use your special talent, which is your writing skill, to defeat the villain, which is this horrible, horrible story that is just not coming together the way you want it to. And you will rock it, and you will write it, and it will feel so good. I promise. Just keep pushing through. But if it's not the scene, and if it's not the part of the story you're in, and if it's not the hero's journey that you're on, if it actually is that the book isn't what you wanted it to be, then change it. When I was plotting this book, I told you, I got to a point where I realized I was writing 2 books, that I had 2 completely different stories, and they were at odds with each other. I was trying to write a thriller, and it was a coming-of-age story, and they weren't working together at all, and they were at odds. And so what I did was I divided them. I had all these scenes, which you can read in my Patreon account, link below, but I had all these scenes that weren't thrilling, that weren't scary, that weren't pivoting on life and death. They were decent scenes, but they were character-driven scenes that weren't a thrilling story. and they went over here, and then I had this idea that was my thriller, and I wasn't writing that. So I needed to plan out that, and I split them up. So maybe you've reached that point, especially if you're a pantser, where maybe you've got too many ideas. Pick one, run with it, and you can come in and cut out the stuff that doesn't work with that idea later. But go off on a tangent. Subvert your own expectations. Throw the plan out the window and just write something that's interesting. Because I gotta tell you, if you're bored, if you don't want to read it, if you don't want to write it, if you don't want to know what happens next, your reader certainly won't. If you're already bored, no reader's going to want to read it. It's not going to happen. So you need to keep yourself interested, and that is got to be your number one priority. So if that means taking a pivot and changing it, or even just starting something new, then do it. You are allowed. And if you look at my video from last week, I can show you how not to lose your word count by doing that. So check out that video. So if you want to start something new, you want to write some short stories, you want to take a break, and you want to get nano credit for those words, then check out that video. But lastly, maybe it's not that the scene you're writing is struggling, and maybe the book is actually pretty interesting, and you don't need to pivot, but you're just tired. Well, yeah. What is it? It's the 17th of November. 17 days of writing pretty much straight. Maybe you missed a day, maybe you didn't, but you've been thinking about this, the pressure is building. Take a breath, take a nap, watch something, read a book, go do something completely different, take a walk. Make a video for YouTube and tell us about it. Do something different and just take a break and a rest so you can come back and do it better later. It's okay to take a day off. And yeah, okay, so maybe you have made it this far and you have not missed a day. So the badges thing, so upload 1 word. Write 10 words and upload it. And then you won't miss a day and you'll still get your badges if that is something that is crucial. You don't have to write, what is it, 5,000 words? You don't have to write that. It's fine. It's fine. It's okay to take a break. You're allowed. And good on you for getting this far. So what we've talked about so far in this video is we've talked about the things you need to look at before you quit. So stop and see, is it the scene you're working on? Can you put that scene aside? Can you keep moving? Can you subvert the expectations of that scene to make it more interesting? Is it the part of the story you're working on? Is that something that you should take a step back off? Or is it just you're in the long dark night of your own soul and you've just hit a dip? Or maybe there's something wrong with the story. Maybe you have too many ideas in there. Can you pivot? Can you take the story a different way? Don't cut, don't go back, just keep going. And then you'll edit later. Or you're just tired and need a break. Whatever it is, you can do this. You can do this. Maybe life threw you a curveball. Maybe something happened this month that you weren't expecting. It's something like we all have jobs, families, and other demands upon our time. And things happen. Things come out of the woodwork that you need to address. And if you need to just step away from Nano because something else has happened in your life, give yourself permission to do that. This isn't the be all and end all. Doesn't mean you failed. It means you've changed your priorities. And it is very easy to change your priorities mid-month. Life moves quickly. And life is too short for you to beat yourself up, but what you should be doing. Okay? You got this. And if you've made it this far, well done you. I am so proud of you. Let me know in the comments where you're up to, what part of the story you're on. I know that I thought I would be a lot further than I am, but you know what? That's okay, because stuff happened in my life that came up that needed my attention, and I had to redirect my attention there and redirect my priorities, and I'm sure you're the same, and we're all in this together. So good job you. Again, put your hand up, high five, because you're awesome Keep writing, keep going. Let me know what you're doing, and see you next time. 12 years of marketing to show you how I'm going to try and pick a new working title. Might not be the final title, but a new working title that is better and that better describes what my book is about. But first, I want to take you through the different kinds of titles. Now, you might not know this, but if you look at different titles, they're actually doing different things. So the first sort of classic